And we are live, baby. What is going on, everybody? Let me close this chat questions things. Bear with me today. We don't have our beautiful producer Ryan with us today, but welcome to another episode of First Blood. I'm here with Alan. You guys know the deal. We're gonna talk some Call of Duty today. Talk about yesterday's matches. Just kind of do a brief recap. Talk about some things that maybe caught our eye. Talk about Optic being very successful so far with Pro Loot, and kind of just do a little recap, and then we'll talk about all the games today and maybe give you guys some betting advice or something at home for all of you guys who who are sitting there following it. But first off, Alan, how you doing? You had a really busy day yesterday. You had a bunch of stuff. Yeah. You feeling all right? You awake this morning?
Oh yeah, we got the normal mug of coffee going. We're powering through, no problems today. But yeah, it was a busy day yesterday. Did get a chance to catch up on the games that I missed after I was casting Valorant, so we got a pretty good look at everything. And I mean, you said it before we live, like we knew yesterday was going to be very unpredictable, and even though our predictions were actually pretty accurate, it definitely lived up to the expectation that it was going to be a very unpredictable day.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree with you. I mean, I feel like it just started things off like that. Like yesterday we started with Paris, Legion, and London, and I literally told you, I was like, I think it's gonna go 5, and I had Paris winning it in 5, but it went all the way to stretch, and then Paris wasn't able to clutch up. And I don't know, I mean, overall it's been like good performances out of Harry. I feel like we talked about him yesterday a little bit. You were saying he's been doing his thing. But this London team, I mean, we've said it time and time again. They're just kind of in a weird spot. I think the core 3 of the team is really good. I think Harry is a great player as well, but it's just kind of they need to figure out the pacing thing. But I saw Trey switching to a sub a lot yesterday. I know Bryce kept touching on it on the cast yesterday as well. He was like Sub-Zero and talking all about him and kind of on his come up days. So it's good to see them progressing. I think that was kind of a big win for them to kind of start their week, in my opinion.
Massive. Yeah, and I mean, we talked about, we could expect there to be some mishaps or mistakes being made in Respawn, but their search and destroy should still be very good. And honestly speaking, we're kind of getting that. Like, the search from this London team has looked pretty solid, no matter who happens to be filling in. When it was Paul before, when it's Harry now, they're putting in really good work on the search and destroy. So that's great news, I think, for London. I know we had a couple of questions yesterday, like, will this London team, if they even have a downfall here, will they still be fine for champs? They should be. And especially if they can continue to be good in the 2 and the 5, they're going to see, I think, a lot of extended series as they move through this first couple of sets of games here in stage 3. So if the search and destroy continues to be as good as it has been for them over the course of the Pro-Am and also in this last couple of days, I feel good about this London team at least being able to maintain while they grow.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, I want to talk about the side of Paris real quick. Even just looking back from the matches or from the maps yesterday, they were able to take both hard points in this series. I guess, were you shocked that Paris was able to do so? I mean, we talked about it a little bit. We thought we were going to maybe see a Gav and a Berlin in this series, and we ended up seeing a Gav and a Tuscan. Paris were able to take, like I said, both hard points. Is that something that, like, I feel like that is a series where if Paris is taking both HPs, like, they should be able to win this. I thought they would be for sure be able to get a search and destroy at least, but I mean, they fall short. They and London, like you said, they were dominant in both the S&Ds yesterday.
Yeah, the hard point actually does look pretty all right from Paris's standpoint. The problems that we kind of had about, Jimbo just kind of either not being a part of the play or getting too far in front of the play has largely been resolved by the look of it. I do think there are some inconsistencies with that subline, but when they're clicking, they're going to be fine and they're going to be able to beat teams. The biggest problem is, like, the control looked all over the place. It didn't look like there was really any sort of coordinated mindset going on for the Berlin really whatsoever. And then the search and destroy was just like, you could tell there was one set play from the beginning of the round, and then as soon as the opening engagement had come and gone, it was like, what do we do now? Like, it just, like, they got picked apart on that bocage just from over challenging things that didn't need to be challenged. And I think that's kind of a problem that has been involved with their search and destroy for the majority of the year, and to see it happen again yesterday was just kind of a big deflating moment, I would say, for anyone who happens to be a Paris fan, which I imagine there's probably not too many Paris fans, probably a bunch of Temp fans, but I don't think there's too many Paris fans out there.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I wanted to ask you, just you brought it up about the control. Do you think Berlin control, I know my kind of opinion on this, but do you think teams are still, like, learning and getting a better grasp / understanding on the map just because it's so fairly new? And you'll see, like, because I personally think that's why you see so many, like, fundamental errors and small little margins, like, that are just messed up because the map is, again, so new. Like, these teams have probably scrimmed it I want to say 10 times, maybe 12 times, something like that.
Sure.
Overall,
Yeah.
maybe gotten like 5 to 7 good, maybe not even 5 good tournament reps each team, because some of these teams don't even play it. So I wonder if
Right.
that probably is a leading issue to some of that.
I like that call, and interestingly enough, I find that the teams that are better at Berlin hardpoint statistically are having an easier handle on Berlin control, because really when you think about it, all you're doing is you're setting up a P1 break and a
Yep.
P2 break.
Yep.
That's really all it is. There's really nothing else involved with the map. Like, we watched a couple of CCL teams yesterday, just like they were completely lost on it. It was just like offense trying to re-wrap back over to P1 by moving through like dockside and crane. It's like, where are you guys going? Just break P1. That's all it is. And I think the teams that have good surrounding ideas around not just what the hard points look like inside, but especially how you can control space and time around the outside of those zones are the most successful at it. And for Paris against that London team, I just felt like they were kind of bullhead rushing in and not really clearing lanes first. So I think you're going to get the teams that are just naturally better at Berlin hardpoint. They're going to want to play Berlin control more often, because the ARs know exactly where they can be to have an influence on the zone without having to be on the zone. I feel like you just never want to have an AR inside either of those 2 points. So I think that's kind of what we're starting to see a little bit more regularly. And for Paris, I mean, not a good Berlin hardpoint team, and I don't think they played the control very well at all yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm interested to see. I guess I feel like we're gonna see this Paris team for the remainder of the year, but I just hope they'll be able to put something together, get some string of events going for them to kind of get some positive energy their way. Because like I tell you all the time, it cannot be fun losing game after game, especially in a series like this where you take both hard points. You figure, hey, we can probably steal one of the search and destroys versus pickup team in London, and they don't do it. So props to London. I think they looked a lot better, and it's good to see Harry playing out and doing his thing. I even just looking at the damage, this guy had almost 13,000 damage. He had 3K more than all of his teammates through this series. So he was frying, dude. He was doing his thing. So hats off to him, and even Zero and Afro. I think, dude, I feel like Afro doesn't get like a ton of love. I feel like on this team, everyone was talked about Trey this, Trey that, whatever. Just because he is a bigger brand, a bigger personality. But ever since Afro's came into the CDL since Cold War, I thought this kid was gross. Like just individual talent and gunny, and I feel like he's really kind of found a form and a footing in this game. So big shout out to him. He's been absolutely frying.
Yeah, and Nasty's also, I think he's kind of changing up his play style a little bit to kind of help out the situation with the kind of forming as the glue almost for this team now.
Yeah.
So even though he did not have the necessarily greatest of overall series, kind of watching him play through the searches again in particular, I thought he was kind of changing up how he was playing around the map, and it helped them out largely as a full squad more than maybe just him himself. So I think that he's another guy that doesn't really get talked about a lot. You know, when the Rookie of the Year conversation was happening, everyone would point to Gizmo, I think, first because of how electric he started off. But yeah, Nasty's also really, really good too.
Oh, definitely. Nasty is nasty. That boy nasty.
Easy word.
No, but I'm down to transition things from that game. It was a really good game yesterday, and like I said, I can't wait to continue to watch London. Hopefully they can kind of turn it around, because I don't have high hopes for them still, but I hope that they can kind of get a foot in the door with Harry and figure out kind of the swapping of roles and whatnot, and figuring out their pacing issues early on, so they can make a deep run into Major 3. But yesterday, also our second game of the day was Seattle Surge versus Toronto Ultra, and this one we both kept saying we don't really know where we're going to go with it. We don't know what to expect, and I swear, dude, this series was nothing but that. Like, I was watching map 4, and I literally was sitting there with my jaw just hitting the floor. I was like, I remember I told you yesterday like twice, I was like, well, if Sib or Pred decide to not die, and then they were frying on map 4 Tuscan, I was like, oh, it's over. 3-1 Seattle. Seattle's back, whatever. Then Toronto go to clutch up on that last P1 rotation. They get like a 4 dead and clutch up and lock down P1 to close it out. And then they take it map 5, and they literally win 6-0 and handle business. I guess, are you shocked, or did you kind of expect this in a way? Did you think anything poorly from Seattle or anything?
Too timid, I think, was the way that I categorized Seattle's hard point yesterday. You know, the Gavudu, they kind of got manhandled on a couple of rotations that would end up to cost them the game. But even in the final moments, and I put a tweet out about it, like Sib from top boat, hailed and nailed Nate into P5, got 2 kills. And then Mac is sitting there on staircase, not sure what to look at. Like, that's 3 dead. You need to extend this to another hard point. Get on and go prone. Like, just contest the hill. He's sitting there trying to pre-aim like a pixel on a barrel. that isn't even contestable from getting on. And it's just like, make a decision. Like, it just feels like everything is just too timid. And like, I get, like, you know, Sam got in my DMs after I tweeted and he's like, well, we had to also play for rotation at the same time. I was like, yeah, but there's 3 dead. At worst, you're going to get a 1v1 on old and a 1v1 on new. Like, that's all you could ever ask for when you're coming off of the unfavored spawn. And I just feel like the decision making on that Gavudu was poor, and I feel like the key decision making on the Tuscan was also just kind of too timid. And it's allowing an opportunity for Toronto to kind of take the identity of the map into their corner. And I just don't love that for Seattle. And that's not at all what we had seen from before. I mean, when Seattle was on their big winning sprees, or when they beat good teams, it's the tempo and identity of the game is Seattle's choice. Like, they are the ones that are being proactive. They're not sitting there and reacting to whatever their opponents are doing. They're the ones kind of initiating plays and forcing their opponents to react to them. And I just feel like that has not been the case in any of their hard points over the last month and a half.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't know if you've noticed this, but this is something I've kind of always had an eye on, I guess, for a long time through competing. Every time Accuracy has a team in the beginning of the game, his team is like always ahead. In a way, like it's like an ongoing thing. I'm not joking. Like, they are really, really good in the beginning of Call of Duties, and like it seems like they have figured out like the pacing thing. But like you said, now you feel like they're playing more timid, and I feel like that's from other teams catching up, kind of figuring out like the Seattle play style, the way they like to play things. Because I remember going back to the Kickoff Classic and watching these guys in Control specifically, and like they weren't losing rounds like multiple series in a row. I think they were 9-0 or 12-0 in round count in Control. And like the way that they were playing, their subs were playing, they were playing so aggressive. They knew how to manipulate the spawns, and it felt like they had figured out the game. And I feel like I even saw this last year with Minnesota Rocker prior to Accuracy getting benched. Like, they were really good in the beginning. Everyone was like, whoa, this team is like really good. They figured out a system. And then I feel like as the year goes on, teams kind of start to, I don't know, get a better understanding of it. And seems like the Seattle teams kind of stayed the same as far as the respawn game modes go. Like, they just haven't really progressed. And they're just kind of like solid in a way. Like, they're competitive versus everyone. We talk about it every time. Like, they literally could go out and beat anyone. And I think that's also why they match up so well versus the pro teams, not the pro teams, the S tier teams like Optic and FaZe.
Yeah.
Because they don't switch the way they play. They play a very structured game of Call of Duty, and they understand it very well. I don't know. This Seattle team to me has just been like a giant question mark. I don't know what they do, how they literally get past this hurdle, but I mean, we talked about this match for Seattle, and we were talking about LAG. Like, these guys have been on a big losing streak, just like LAG has. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know they didn't win a series at the Pro-Am either. Other than they go on to lose this series, and I think do they play today, I want to say?
Yeah, they do. They play Paris to start.
Yeah, they do. So we can talk about that here in a minute, but I don't know. They need a turnaround, and they need a turnaround fast.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, they haven't won a hard point since before the Pro-Am. They've only won one Control since before the Pro-Am, and that was yesterday. It's just, I don't know, man. The thing about it is, like, you lose both hard points. Actually, all 3 respawns you lose to, I would say, the worst challengers team at Pro-Am.
Oh, definitely.
It didn't feel like anything changed. It didn't feel like they were trying to make a play style change. It didn't feel like they were coming out with, a little bit more of a proactive mindset. I don't know if it's because everyone's trusting that Accuracy is going to do a lot of the calming or what it happens to be here, but I feel like it's just a team mentality. Everyone just needs to get more proactive and step up. And for what it's worth, to kind of tease it, it sucks to watch Mac have a couple bad maps at the end there. And especially considering that, you lost the 4th map by 4 points, you would have to think somewhere in your minus 23 kills to death ratio. If you even were to find 4 or 5 more kills, you probably win that map. But I don't think Mac has a second bad series in a row. I think Sam had put it out there, like, people coming at Mac is just not right. Like, people have bad series. I agree. And I don't think Mac's going to have a bad series today.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's just, I don't know. Those are like anomaly maps that happen. It's just like everything had to have gone wrong for him to go 8-31. It's just like, I mean, even looking at it, he had 1,600 damage. He really wasn't being a part of the game at all. And it's like, they go on to lose by 4 points. And I'm sure they go back and probably watch that VOD together as a team. And Mac's probably sitting there like, look, guys, if I were to get 5 more kills, the map is literally all on me. We win, and we win the whole series 3-1. So it's like one of those things I told you about the Pro-Am, like where FaZe could have easily won 3-1 versus Optic if they pick up a pinch. That's all it comes down to, and they find themselves further in a series. So I'm sure it's very hard for them to go back and watch it, but I'm going to talk about Toronto a little bit. We've talked a lot about Seattle. I feel like Toronto, they ice up yesterday. They're starting to look a little bit better, and I feel like they're kind of getting that more respectful Toronto Ultra title that they had in Cold War, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the biggest thing about this, even through a veto process that kind of took away one of their better maps for the hard point in particular, I thought they looked still pretty solid on Tuscan for the most part. Seeing them kind of be forced to play Gavudu, I thought they looked all right enough. I don't think they have as good of a time against a better AR team. But I still think they looked fine. And then their search and destroy has been the most impressive part about them, I think, since this kind of comeback. Even though a lot of people obviously have focused on their hard point because they had not won really a single hard point all stage 2. That's obviously where a lot of people will focus. But their search continues to be very good, or at least consistent, I should say. You know, they're always contesting maps. They don't often get blown out of a search and destroy map, which is always good news. So their pool's deep when it comes to search, their results are deep when it comes to search, and that's good news. I think just as you're trying to, like, kind of we're talking about London, like, get the wheels back on the car here. And hope that results in more dubs for them throughout the qual stage.
I am with you, and we will get to see more of Seattle Surge again. We'll get to talk about that here in just a little bit when we move on from the recap from today. But let's talk about our third match of the day. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, but we saw Optic Texas go up against Florida Mutineers, and we both had Optic winning, but I don't think we had Optic winning in this fashion. I saw some trolly tweets yesterday saying Optic's better with pro loot, blah 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 blah, but I'm not on that train, but I just had to bring it up. But these guys looked dominant yesterday. We spoke about it a little bit. We're like, Florida's beaten them the last 2 times they played. Obviously, those were both on land, and I saw the Florida memes. I don't know if you saw their account. They were like, we still haven't lost on land to Optic. But I don't know. Optic's looking good, man. I won't say I'm not. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of impressed, but hey, the way the substitutes have worked for this game so far, whenever you replace the right role, it seems like the teams have done pretty well. And I don't know. LAG goes on to win an event. London doesn't lose with Paul X in the fill-in, and then you do Optic and give them Pro Loot, and they're 2-0. They look good.
They look really good, and I think again, it's just they're, regardless if you want to talk about the general versus pro loot situation, I don't think that's the conversation that merits a narrative. The conversation that we should be talking about, the culture and the system that's been built in that Optic Texas camp, will allow any 4th player in my mind that can shoot back to be successful. Just due to the fact that the other 3 are playing the same game. They did not change anything when they were playing with Illy versus when they were playing with General, or now that they're playing with Pro Loot compared to when they're playing with General. And that's just trust, man. Like, the fact that the other core 3 of whoever the 4th happens to be can continue to play their same style, and I would have to assume make the 4th feel comfortable, is unbelievable. And I think there's a lot to be said about 2 people that don't get talked about when it comes to this team, and that's Rambo Ray and Sender. I think that they have done a really good job of creating a good culture here in this environment, and that is, I think, more important than any individual player could possibly be taking when it comes to filling in for Illy's unfortunate injury. So I just think that is where the credit really needs to be shined on, is the culture in that camp must be electric.
I completely agree with you. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't want to start it out with saying that, but I truly feel the same way. I don't want to take anything away from Pro Loot, but I do think that this core 3 has built a very good, like, understanding. They get the game. And I think the best thing, if you're an Optic Gaming fan, is like how good their search and destroy has been without Ender. These guys are literally playing with random fill-ins, and they are dominant in the mode still. Like, these, all the rounds, everything looks so well thought out. And like, I know Pro Loot comes from the S&D scene, but like, even with General, like at the Pro-Am, like, these guys looked great. And obviously the respawn's always going to look good. You have crazy talent on the team. You can have, like we talked about it the other day, Seth on Bokage started out like 21-6. You have Dash, who has takeover games, and Shotzi is one of the most enjoyable POVs to watch in this game. So I don't know. These guys have looked great. I really am excited to see them kind of get Illy back. I think that over the last month and a half or so, ever since kind of Major 2 ended, these guys have been hitting some serious form, I want to say. So I'm excited. I hope Illy can recover soon, and I'm excited to watch them continue to dominate, because they're a fun team to watch, that's for sure.
Really is. And I really hope that the time that General spent with them and the time that Pro Loot is currently spending with them does lead towards more future opportunities for both of them as well, because I think both of them are incredible players. and definitely both deserve to be in the league. So it's big shouts to Pro, man. He's doing what we asked him to do: show up, play comfortable, play well, and he's done that. So he's done himself every bit of what he needs to do to establish kind of that, yeah, he deserves to be at this level, and there's no question about it. So it's great news for Optic, without question at all.
Yep, I completely agree with you. I don't really have anything else on these guys. I mean, this was basically a dominant 3-0. I think from the side of Florida, it was a rough series out of Vivid.
Yeah, rough series.
I mean, I don't know. I don't weigh too much on it on Florida. I think they'll be able to bounce back pretty fine, in my opinion. And I still kind of just have them where they've been for the I don't know, majority of the year. I would say they've just kind of been that middle of the pack floating team.
God, I just really want to see Yeez on this team. Bro.
I know, you love it.
I just want to see it. Like, it just feels like this team. There are going to be moments of greatness. They're going to catch a hot streak. Vivid's going to be playing well. You know, the flex role for Awakening or Skies, whoever, if they're running both SMGs or if one of them's running an SMG, doesn't matter. Like, they catch a little bit of heat and they look so good. And then all of a sudden there's moments where it's just like none of that's there and they look really bad. It's just like Florida continues to be one of the most unpredictable teams in the CDL.
Yeah.
And I would just love to see if Yeez and this team could provide more consistency, because at the moment, I don't think anyone could really feel super confident in looking at this Florida team and say, oh yeah, they could definitely finish top 4. Like, I don't know if that's something that someone could really confidently say, just because of how inconsistent that they are. And I would love to see someone like Yeez in the mix.
Yeah, no, I just think that I don't know what it is, honestly. I don't get it. These guys remind me of like Surge now. They're kind of just like they're more consistent than Seattle, but they're just like, we can beat anyone at any given day, or we can just lose to teams that we're lesser than. And that's kind of been the story of them for quite some time and through the entirety of the year. So I don't know. I don't know what they would do if like time goes on through Major 3, like you said, do they entertain putting in Yeez, or do they not? Do they just kind of keep the same roster throughout the whole year and hope that it works out in the end? But I don't know. Like I told you before, I think that they probably are hype on the fact that they had their best placing in Major 2. Pro-Am's probably an asterisk event, and then they go into Major 3 and see what they can do from here. And maybe you see something at the end of it. Who knows?
It's just, I don't know, man. It's so tough to evaluate this squad, and I see people in chat are talking about like Wake running around getting a ton of kills but only having 4 seconds of hardpoint time. Like, that's the role that you expect Vivid to kind of fulfill. So it's just like, again, like I don't know. I'm so confused about this team. I want to be a fan. I do, especially after, like you mentioned, like their run in this stage 2 major, beating Optic, allowed them a chance to get a little bit further, and then they almost beat LAG, but like, you know, we're going to talk about LAG here in a minute. It's just like, is LAG even a metric anymore after what we saw? Like, was it literally a fluke tournament run for them? I think we're probably going to answer that question here soon. But I just feel like Yeez deserves a shot just to see if it helps. Because sitting in top 8, top 6 contention, just, again, it's not good enough if you're looking to win a championship, obviously. Yeah, no,
I'm with you. I mean, I think that's what it always boils down to. And I've said it plenty of times. It's just like, what is the organization happy with, right? Are they happy with being competitive, a top 6, top 4 here and there, maybe randomly, or is it just like, is your goal to go out and win a championship and actually do something? So I don't know. That's all management and business stuff at the end of the day, and stuff we won't really get to see, unfortunately, on the backside of things. But they're definitely been a weird team for sure for a long period of time.
I'm just looking back over it here, like, outside of the Modern Warfare CDL, where again it wasn't a full roster of teams playing and they went back-to-back wins, that wasn't a CDL event. They finished top 4 in stage 3 standings last year, and that's it. Everything else is top 16 or top 8 at every other major during like the group phase of it. Yeah, because even that top 4, that was just in their group. They finished top 4 in their group. They finished top 6 at the
they got rounded, because I got benched after Major 2, I want to say, in Cold War, and I think they got rounded at Major 3 and 4. They were both on land by New York, but then they came, their best placing in the last 2 years was Major 2, this most recent event, if I understand that right. And that was 4th. Yeah.
Like, I just don't think organizationally that you're happy with that. You know,
I just feel like, I mean, I can always talk about this because I team with them. When I played with them, it just felt like, so I went from multiple teams where it was like a super, like a team with JCap and like the similar guys for a long time, where we had like a system. So like given every scenario, we knew what to do, and we had the same. Like I played in Call of Duty forever. This is the only reason I was successful, is I played similar to like the way like I'd said Seattle does, or like these teams where they play the same no matter what. You know what I mean? Like if you have a P1 break, you take a long route on both sides, and we play this pinch, and that's the way we do it. And if it works, it works. If we win our pinch fights, we break the hill, but we don't ever like 4-hit middle randomly to try and break this or do things like that, and it can create consistency. But when I played with Florida, it was like we didn't have like that teamwork like that on that level. Like it would be like we would talk about a break in practice and in scrims, and then come tournament time, someone would go rogue and do something weird, and like it made it super like, I don't know, fluky in a way, because like we were so good in practice, and like we would calm down the game and let it be, and then come match time we would do like random stuff. And I'm sure it's changed a little bit with Dave being added to the team. He plays a more structural based game, but it just seems like to me they don't have like a core system. I know Vivid likes to go rogue quite often and kind of toss his life away sometimes, but he'll make good plays to open up the map. But I feel like that's what it has to be, because this team is always up and down. Like it's just a random radar. Sometimes it's clicking and working, and sometimes it's not. So I feel like that's what it has to boil down to, in my opinion.
And I think a lot of that is just the fact there's no middleman, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of the core teams that we talk about with good consistency, whoever is running that flex role is kind of the glue keeping both the front and back lines together. And I feel like the teams that are having the problems right now, talking about teams like Florida, Seattle, LAG, there is no middleman. It's either the front line is going off and doing their own thing, the back line's doing their own thing, and somehow it works, or it's not working at all. And I that's the thing. I just don't love the makeup of this team at the moment.
Yeah, I feel you. It'll definitely be interesting to see how the rest of the major three unfolds for them, to see if they can get to that consistency that they had at the major two. But let's transition things into the last match from yesterday and do a little recap before we get into the matches. And this one was this was like what people like to call the I remember people made the joke, the blow it up bowl. Yep, literally. And this is getting to the point now where it's getting pretty serious. I think for sure this confirms that this is the biggest losing streak after a team won a major tournament in COD history. Yeah.
COD history?
No, maybe not COD. I don't know if it's COD history, or I guess that would be hard to. No, that'd be way too hard to base it off, because back in the day, CWL was event to event for most part, like way back when. But it's CDL history for sure. But I mean, I don't know. This was a series. I think I said this at the end of the day yesterday. I was like, I would not be surprised if Minnesota just comes out and 3-0s them, but I'm putting my eggs in all my baskets for LAG, and they just, I don't know. They lived up to the LAG standard as of late. I don't know. I'm just sitting here staring at the scoreboard, just like laughing, because it was a 1.52 performance out of Havoc and Attached. Guys are literally playing pubs. And then on the side of LAG, it's just all red. Like no one really had a good performance. You saw, I guess, a semi-decent performance from Asim, but I don't know. I saw Asim's tweets. I was reading them. Like he was just like, you got to overcome the lows or something to make the highs this much better, or something like that, something similar to that. And it's just like, it's facts, but these guys have not looked competitive or good in a little bit.
No, not at all. And this series to me is, and this is going to sound super harsh, but this series has now officially, in my mind, cemented that Major 2 was a fluke run. And I don't know if it was just because of the fact that there wasn't a lot of ability to plan for LAG with Spartan in the mix. Of course, also bringing in the Volk. Who knows how many mind games that played with people. How many bots did you shoot trying to figure out what the loadout is at the end of the day, whatever it happens to be. But, I mean, it's just been bad. The thing about it is the losses that they're hitting right now are all bad losses. Like, reverse swept by Ultra NA. I don't think it was reverse sweep versus Paris, but there were maps that they threw away completely. And then everything else since then has been 3-0 beatdown. And it's just like, how? How has this happened? And all of a sudden, I think organizationally, you started thinking like, well, do we try to get Gunless back in? How do we fix this? Because the wheels aren't falling off one by one. This is a vehicle going 80 miles per hour that just had the axles fall off, and now you're skidding down the highway. Like, this is bad news right here for LAG.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at their map counts in their last 5 matches. So they are 4 and 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So they're 4 and 15 in their last 5 matches. They've won 4 maps. They won, and 2 of those were versus a Toronto Ultra NA Academy team that they should probably beat every day of the week. So outside of that, I mean, if you delete that series versus the pro teams, Paris, Boston, Texas, and now Minnesota, they are 2 and 12. map count and all the pro league teams. So it just hasn't looked good for them. I mean, I talked about this. I think I actually called this on this show. I said that I thought it was a fluke event. I told you I won an event like that in Black Ops 4. We had the Rampart, and it was more of like a mental game with a lot of these teams. And I was really worried about the Volk and them losing it in Respawn, if they would be able to kind of transition that success. And then I talked about their win streak in Search and Destroy and how hard that is to do consistently after you play the maps multiple times. I mean, at the end of the day, you play a map, let's say you play a Berlin S&D in your LAG, and they have these godlike strats that they're using with Spart. They play it 2 or 3 times. Well, guess what? There's so many people and coaching staffs now. They go and watch that VOD, and they're like, okay, this is their A attack. Okay, this is what's working for them. All right, now we know how to counter it. Let's set up a counter strat. This is what they like to do on defense. Okay, we wrote it down. We know now. And it's like, that's the fun part about the league with teams that actually do their homework. It's like, stuff like that only works for a little bit, and that's why you see players and people like save strats for later tournaments, save strats for champs, save spots and nerdy angles and different things like that for a long time, because you can get them exposed early on, and it won't, help you through the whole year. So I don't know. It's definitely an interesting spot to be at for LAG. I guess the plus is you have Gunless in the back pocket still. I think is healthy now from my understanding and is able to play, because I've seen him been streaming and playing ranked and kind of getting back into the groove of things.
Yeah.
But on the side of Menace, go ahead.
I was gonna, just to kind of finish that off, like, you got to remember that even in their run for stage 2, like, they were 2 search and destroy rounds away from losing to Seattle. They were 1 search and destroy round away from losing to Florida. Like, it's just as much as I think their search and destroy was the reason that they get to the finals in the first place.
Oh yeah,
obviously. I mean, I think anyone would have said that. And I think the biggest problem here from LAG is you have to decide how exactly do you want to try to remedy the problems, because these aren't just like, oh, okay, we're on a little bit of a losing streak. No, you're kind of getting beat up right now. And to see the amount of inconsistencies up front, it's got to be some kind of a decision making of, is it the subs that are just not playing correctly, or is there a fundamental breakdown from the back line not being able to play with the subs in the first place? So I'll be curious to see what they want to do here, but yeah, LAG's in trouble right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that we spoke about this with Sam too, and this is just an ongoing thing in the CDL. It's like every team at some point in the year, they face adversity and they get put in a point where it's like, all right, are we going to break down and crumble and like get to the point where we make a roster change, or will we be able to turn it around and kind of make the season work? And I think LAG, they were at a point like that before they had Spart. They got to the top of the mountain, and now they're just falling back down the other side of the mountain and going through kind of the adversity part. And it's like, I guess we'll really get to see kind of the team unfold from here, if they'll kind of crumble and make that roster change. I mean, realistically, you haven't had really any individual good performances out of anyone specifically. I think the ASINs probably played pretty poorly in the last few series, but no one has looked really like shining and really looking good. So I feel like no one's spot is safe. If I were on LAG, they're probably all playing for a spot, and Gunless realistically could take anyone's spot. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what they do and how they kind of perform, because they're now 0-2 starting out this stage. So yeah, they have to win next 3, otherwise they're going to be starting in losers, and it's not a good look, and it's not easy to make a good run from that point on. But on the side of Minnesota, let's gas them up. Let's not. I've been hard on them.
Sure. We both have.
But I mean, this is a good win, regardless of it's beating up on a team that has been broken for a little bit now. But they look better. They come out, they 3-0, and really not any map was close. They went a 250 to 171 hardpoint on Gavutu, a 6-3 search and destroy, and a 3-1 control. And I think the stats say it for themselves. Like I said, 2 of the players had a 1.52 KD going plus 23. So it was not very competitive.
No, not at all. The thing about it is, as much as I want to sit here and feel more hope about Minnesota, this was more of an ugly spot for the Gorillas than maybe a positive spot for Minnesota. I think today's match is going to give us a really good evaluation of how good is this Minnesota team really going to be. And are there any still susceptibilities? Because again, they're one of those squads that currently, based on the pro points that have been earned, they have to make some special stuff happen here in these last 2 stages if they want to lock down a spot in champs at the end of the year. So this series today, I think, is going to be more indicative of where they actually are. But coming off of what has been, kind of a big problem spot for them, just looking at the recent history with what they've done in Hardpoint, Obviously, you love to see them play a map that they're not really known for playing a lot of and doing well on it. That's great news, but there are still questions. Like, can you still do that on Berlin? Can you do that on Tuscan? Because you're going to see those maps regularly. It's also good to see them kind of reestablishing some good search. Love to see that. And then the control is going to be kind of, I think, the biggest linchpin for success for all of these teams that find themselves between like 6th and 11th right now.
Yep.
Whoever gets the fastest handle on control, I was going to say the fastest control and control. Whoever gets the fastest handle on control, I think, is going to be the teams that will end up in the top 8 by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that one, Alan. You're an absolute genius. But let's talk about these matches today, unless you got anything else on these guys, because I do think we'll have some good talking points. I want to continue to talk Minnesota, but I want to talk about it in their match going up today, because I completely agree with your take on that. So let's transition things. That was kind of the recap from yesterday. Overall, it was a very good Call of Duty out of all the teams. I think we kind of hit the nail in the coffin when we said that it was going to be a toss-up of a day, and I think it lived up to be that. But today, we got some good Call of Duty. We got 3 matches underway starting at 3 o'clock Eastern. We got Seattle Surge going up against the Paris Legion. And I think this is going to be one of those series, in my opinion, Alan. Just looking at kind of the struggles of Seattle and Paris just being so close yet so far away. I'm curious to see if we will see a Bocage hardpoint here, just because I know Paris loves it. Seattle loves it. I don't think we'll get it vetoed. So maybe 2 of the team's better hard points that they'll kind of get to duke it out on. But for me, this series is going to come down to the search and destroy after seeing kind of Paris compete yesterday in those respawns versus who was it, London Royal Ravens. I think that that's kind of going to be the make or break for me in this series.
I agree. I think that's the best way of putting it. Like, do we really think that Paris is going to take all 3 respawns versus this Seattle team? Because that is the most likely pathway to victory for this Paris team. Because even though Seattle did get smoked in the Tuscan in Game 5 yesterday, I think there was a little bit of full being lost after kind of throwing away the Tuscan hardpoint. And I don't think that Mac is going to have a bad series today. In fact, I think he's going to come out mad, and I think he's going to fry today. So for Paris, you have to find a way to get better at search and destroy immediately if you want to have a chance in this series. Also, for fun fact, whatever it's worth, out of the 4 series wins that Paris has this year, all of them have come by way of LAN experience, except for 1 win versus Toronto at the end of Stage 2 quals. So get these guys a facility. Maybe we'll talk. But
dude, I hate to even I'm so sick of saying this because it is so annoying. Like, these guys literally don't. They are competitive, but they just don't win. And I mean, they don't really do anything crazy on LAN either, but who knows what they would be if they could start in the winner's bracket. Like, no team is going to always just consistently make a loser's bracket run to a top 4 finish every single event starting there. Like, I don't know. It just sucks to see, and I hate to even have this conversation because they are playing at a disadvantage. It's not fair. It's not the same morale. It's not anything. Like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to even talk about for someone who's competed and played. It hurts my head wrapping the fact around that I know that they're kind of screwed in a way when it comes to these online matches. But I don't know. It comes down to an organizational standpoint thing or whatever. I'm sure that the players would all relocate if given the opportunity.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure if you're the Paris organization at the moment. And I hate to kind of base my prediction off of that alone, but again, the statistics lead towards the fact that they're not going to win games online. It's just the way it is. So until they see them on Major 3, I just kind of consider them a non-factor at the moment. Yeah,
no, I'm completely with you. I think I'm ready for vetoes if you are, because I know where I'm going with this series. I don't think it's going to be I think it'll be competitive. I'll go ahead and kick us off. I'm going to go Seattle Surge 3-1. I think what you said is so true. I don't think we're going to see a super poor performance out of Mac. I think Seattle will be able to turn it around and kind of beat Paris, who I could consider probably the worst team right now in the league, unfortunately. And I just don't think, like I said, they're given a fair chance. So if Paris Legion can put their players somewhere where they can all centrally locate and be able to play together, I think then they would possibly be able to do something. But it just sucks because a lot of those guys are my good friends, and not fun to watch them underperform from something like that. Watching them play at the Pro-Am, like on LAN on a fair playing field, and get to play multiple pool play matches, and then watch them come home and just be like, it's probably chalked. So it's just like hard to want to like, I don't know, give these guys the benefit of the doubt at the end of the day.
I agree. I think the respawns are actually going to be the same, maybe with the exception of Bakaj getting picked. I think the majority of the respawns are going to be the same maps that both teams had played yesterday. So I'm actually going to figure that with that in mind, I actually going to take Seattle 3-0 here. I think that Seattle fixes the small little mistakes that they made in kind of, if we do see like a Gavudu or a Tuscan again, I think they fix up those mistakes, and I think they win the search. And then I think their control is just better. So I got this 3-0 Seattle.
Someone in chat said it. The maps are out. It's Bocage, Tuscan, Berlin, Tuscan, Berlin.
Bocage, Tuscan, Berlin, Tuscan.
So we were
Berlin,
spot on about the it's Bocage map 1, hardpoint, and then Tuscan SND, Berlin control, Tuscan hardpoint, Berlin Berlin.
Wow. SND. Seattle must feel very confident that whatever happened yesterday versus Toronto in the Tuscan search and destroy was just them in the blender.
Yeah.
It had to have been.
I mean, if you get 6-0,
get 0-6 stopped, and then immediately say, yeah, we're gonna let that in the pool tomorrow.
I mean, Seattle's played it a lot, right? Like, I mean, they probably just feel like they got blind counted their rounds, didn't go their way. And I would assume that they probably view it as like a fluke map, so they probably are comfortable putting it in. And I don't know.
Berlin control again.
Berlin control again.
And then Berlin map 4. Is that what you said?
Tuscan map 4. Berlin map 5.
Tuscan map 4. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still going 3-1 Seattle.
Yeah,
I think
I feel good about the 3-0.
If anything, I think Paris will be able to take map 1, just because they are very confident on the map. But I'm very confident that Seattle will be able to get the job done today. I think it will be competitive, though. I think it always has been with Paris. They don't ever really get like steamrolled for the most part. Yeah. But all righty, well, we're both in the same boat here. You got 3-0, I got 3-1. Hopefully Paris will be able to make a run and maybe make the day interesting. Who knows? But map 2 or game 2 of the day, I want to talk a lot about this one. I think we started speaking about it a little bit from Minnesota's point of view, but we got LA Thieves going up against Minnesota Rocker, and you started to say it. I think this again is the true test to see kind of what Minnesota Rocker is, and kind of similar to LA Thieves. Like both these like first 2 matchups are kind of teams that haven't really solidified themselves yet. Like we'll be able to get a true test of like LA Thieves. Are you guys like really the kind of real deal now with this roster swap, or not roster swap, role swap? And then on the side of Minnesota Rocker, it's similar. It's like, are you guys actually going to be able to be very competitive? And the Pro-Am was just kind of a practice event.
Yeah, no, those are all, I think, the appropriate storylines for this series. It's definitely a proving series for both teams. That's the easiest and most simplified way of saying it. I think for Thieves, it's just, consistency on the roster has to be there. That's kind of been the biggest benefit of what's happened since this role swap, is I feel like they have gotten more individually consistent, but that's got to stay. It can't just be because of the Pro-Am. It can't just be because of the one series that you played up against the London team that was kind of hurting. And even in that series, I still, again, go back to saying London made it more competitive than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
But this will be a different test, because you're now, instead of playing up against an AR heavy squad in London, you're going to be playing up against a pretty SMG heavy squad in Minnesota, apparently, with Havoc kind of running around and doing, greasy gang stuff. So I think that's going to put a different level of stress on the awareness in these roles for LA Thieves. And I honestly think that Minnesota can make this a difficult series just off the picks and bans for Thieves as well. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what we get at map set wise.
I definitely agree. I think too, just like kind of looking at it, I briefly said it, but I think this is like more of a LA Thieves need to handle business match, and this is like a Minnesota Rocker, like, oh hey, we are okay now, we're actually in form a little bit, because I feel like if Minnesota were to go out and win this, it means more than if LA Thieves were to win it. It's like, okay, LA Thieves should just probably handle business here.
Yeah.
As far as map cassettes go, I don't know what I mean. I wonder if Minnesota, they've played a lot of Gav in their day. They've seemed very like comfortable on the map, but I wonder if they would get rid of it with LA Thieves' success on the map recently.
I think you kind of have to, honestly. As much as I trust the way that Havoc runs the sub on that map, I just don't know if Minnesota is in a spot to tell either Havoc or Standy to put down the sub to pick up an AR. Like, that just doesn't feel good. And against a good Thieves squad, I think you probably do veto the Gav. I think Boston vetoes the Bakaj. So that means we get a Berlin Tuscan hardpoint, which is not good for Minnesota. And then I want to say that Minnesota, their best map in Berlin, is for search is LA Thieves, like one of their hard vetoes. So I don't think we're going to get a Berlin search and destroy either, just based on the record that Minnesota's put together. They're 5-1 in it, also 4-2 on Bakaj. So I'll be curious. I think that Thieves will be okay playing Bocage Search against this Minnesota team, which may be good for Minnesota, but not having good hard points if you're Minnesota is going to lead to a very difficult series for them in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, the plus they do have, though, I think LA Thieves get rid of Bocage hardpoint. Minnesota probably gets rid of Gavs. And like you said, you see a Berlin, Tuscan. And as the search goes, it's like, I feel like if you're Minnesota Rocky, you're happy playing Bocage S&D because they just played it yesterday. They got good reps. They look good in it. They won 6-3 pretty convincingly versus a good search and destroy team in LAG. So I bet they're pretty confident in the series. I'd be curious to see what control these guys go out and play because LA Thieves, when they played Berlin Control the other day, they looked great in it. So I wonder if Minnesota would square up on that, if they'll just get rid of it and play one of the other two maps instead. But I'm sure they're probably not
get rid of it.
Really, you think so?
Well, it just depends on how the vetoes works because I don't think if you're Minnesota, you want to play Voodoo Control against.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. So like, I feel like if they had the opportunity to get rid of Gav Control, they'd square up on the other two. In my opinion, I think it makes more sense with, like you said, their kind of way their rosters set up. I feel like you would prefer to have Standy and Havoc on those maps.
I think ideally, if you're Minnesota, you want Tuscan Control, but I don't think you're going to get it. I think this is going to be a Berlin Tuscan hardpoint, Bocage, maybe Tuscan Search, and then a Berlin Control.
Yeah,
be my guess.
I'll be honest. A side note too, dude. I don't know what it is, but Dylan Attach always plays so well versus these guys. I have no idea why. But literally,
I didn't even think about that.
No, I'm not joking. Every time Dylan plays, LATs are like optic. For some reason, he just has like a crazy like 1.3 series. I swear, like it happens every time. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I know it's just a Fugazi stat, but I swear every time I watch this guy on one of these matchups, I'm like, oh well, okay, here's Dylan again, just doing Dylan things. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm ready for vetoes, though. We kind of broke down the maps, talked a little bit about the matchup and the storylines for it. I'll let you kick it off.
Sure.
Let's see where you're going with this one.
I'm going 3-1 Thieves.
Huh?
I think the hard points make this series very difficult for Minnesota. I think the best bet for the Rocker is to get to a map 5. And I just don't know if we're going to get there. I could honestly see Thieves winning all 3 respawns in this series. I think the best potential map pool does live in the searches. Unless they've got something up their sleeve and they're going to catch LA Thieves off guard in the veto process. But I just don't think that they have that kind of rehearsal yet to be able to do that. So I think it could be a close series, but I think Thieves take this 3-1.
I'm going Thieves as well. I'm going Thieves 3-2. I think Minnesota will be super competitive. I could see them taking a search and destroy. And if it's a Berlin Control, sitting here thinking about it more, I think Standy and Havoc would be really annoying to play on that map just from their like flanking play style. So I'm going to give them a search and destroy and probably the control. I think Thieves will take it in 5. They'll probably win in both hard points in game 5, obviously.
That's fair.
So,
I can see it.
We'll see what happens. I think it will be a very competitive series. I know I say that all the time, but some of these middle of the pack teams going against
We're always hoping for that.
It just I just feel like it's like meant to be in a way. Like the way the game plays out and the vetoes play out, I feel like teams are just bound to take it this stretch. Like it's rare you see teams other than like FaZe and Optic just come out and dominate in like 3-0 teams. I feel like the most of the middle of the teams from like 3 to 12, usually someone steals a map. They'd rarely get like 3-0'd. But yeah, hopefully it is a good match. So we have some good Call of Duty. And it's not a 3-hour day like it was on day 1 or on Friday. So
that'd be nice.
Let's talk about the Mountain Dew marquee match, though. The last match of the day, we got New York going up against Boston and Breach. And we haven't seen New York play since Friday. They obviously fell short to FaZe. Yeah, we haven't seen Boston play once this stage. So I don't know. I guess after the Pro-Am, we've talked a lot about Boston. Do you think they kind of sit where they were? Do you think they've declined a little bit? What do you think about this Boston Breach team? I know we've talked a lot about New York the last few days.
I think they sit where they're at. The series versus Thieves at the Pro-Am, I thought they played very well. Obviously, a couple of missed chances here or there led to, I think, the loss. And obviously losing to Ultra NA hurts, especially in reverse sweep fashion. But I still hold this Boston team, in my mind, as a top 4 squad. The thing about it is, New York is obviously in a position coming off of their win, plus their good start to this stage. I just kind of having a good competitive series versus Atlanta. I think they are now also in the ballpark of who's in the top 4. So this is actually maybe a battle for who holds a top 4 spot and who may only be top 6, top 8. Obviously more stress on Boston for those rankings compared to New York, considering their hot streak lately. But this is an important series, I think, for both of these two teams, especially for New York, considering that they need the points.
Yeah.
That's the other kind of big thing here that we have to keep in mind as we're getting to the back half of this season. So I don't know. This is gonna be a really tough one to predict. Honestly, I still don't know which way I'm gonna go looking at the maps at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I'm even just looking. I feel like Boston's, in my opinion, has had like a slight decline over the last month or so. Looking at their last 6 games, they going back to Major 2 winners finals, they get 3-0'd by Atlanta FaZe. They lose in the losers final to LAG game 5. Then they go on and pool play at the Pro Am. They beat a Paris Legion 3-1. They get reverse swept by Toronto Ultra Academy. Then they beat LAG 3-0, which LAG, that was on LAG's. That was their last game. They're already 0-2 in the Pro Am. So that was the last series. And then they lose to LA Thieves again, round 1. So I don't know. I just feel like they haven't really played like too many. This team's been so weird. I don't want to say they got blessed schedule-wise, but I swear they haven't played like too many of the top dogs. They've lost to London every time they played them. I think they've only played once. They've lost to Thieves, and they haven't beat Optic and FaZe this year. So like it's just been weird to watch them. They've beat like the Floridas, I guess, and they've beat like, you know, Minnesota and some of these lower teams in Paris. But they every time they play, I think they beat New York this year. I don't want to say they have.
Once.
Well, no, they
only played once, and it was a map 5.
They've lost it. Well, they lost them. I'm thinking back to the kickoff too. They lost them at the kickoff, and then they lost them, I think, at Major 1 as well.
Oh, I don't count the kickoff.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But it's just funny though, because I don't know. There's a few there's like 5 or 6 teams in the league they haven't beat once. So, but they beat like the bottom 5, but they're still sitting kind of pretty in the standing. So I don't know. I feel like they've been good, but I feel like, in my opinion, they've been again on a slight little decline. And then, like you said, I think this is kind of a good bounce back match for New York. They obviously fall short to FaZe, but they played them very competitively. And like you said, they need points. Like this is getting to the point where they have to start making a run in the standings, or it's going to be a little too late. So I don't know. As far as map vetoes go, I'm curious to see what Boston does, because Boston, we know they love Bocage Capital. It's his playground. But do you square up against New York on it?
Yeah, I don't know if you do, honestly. I mean, it's been so long since they've played it. They played it versus LAG, but even that was uncomfortable. And then the last time they had played it was 2 months ago during Stage 2 quals. And New York is on a 5-game winning streak on that map, and most of the wins are comfortable. So I think you do what I think Atlanta vetoed it as well against them, by the way, for what it's worth. I don't remember how I tallied it, but I want to say Atlanta vetoed Bocage against them. It must have, because their usual hard veto is Berlin, and they played it. So I think even Atlanta vetoed Bocage from New York. So I think Boston definitely does. And if that's the case, if you're New York, you probably still have your hard veto right now, which is Gavudu. So we play Berlin Tuscan, and both teams are pretty solid at those 2 maps.
Yeah, I agree with you, honestly. I think you do definitely get rid of it, but I don't know. This map set's going to be interesting.
It's going to be pretty level, honestly. I think is just, especially for the respawns. I think the respawn playing field is going to be super level, because New York doesn't like to play Berlin. Control, I mean, and at least not as of yet. They may have something in the works, but I mean, Boston doesn't really like Berlin either after their round 5 loss to LA Thieves in the Pro Am, I guess. I don't know, dude. I'm kind of looking at this thinking Berlin, Tuscan, Hardpoint, Tuscan, Control, and then who knows what the Search and Destroy is, because that's the thing, is this series, I think, probably goes 5, and it just depends on who plays the better map 5, because both teams have very well fleshed out Search and Destroy map pools, except for Boston, who doesn't like to play Tuscan.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a battle. I think this is a very tough matchup for Boston, in my opinion. I feel like with the new addition of Kismet, in my opinion, these teams kind of play similar. You got Krim and Zin, who are both like we call them the old school veteran ARs. You got Hydra and Kismet for the subs, and then Capsule and Nero, 2 like younger gun, all the SMGs, and then you got Paul Lex versus Tej in the flex role. I don't know, and they're both good at search and destroy too. Like both these teams have looked great in search and destroy, and we talked about New York's ice. Man, I think this series goes the stretch. I'm with you.
It has to. The only way it doesn't is if the map 3 is won by whoever also has the map 2 search pick, and it goes like both teams win their hard point choice, and we just don't get to 5 because it's like a 2-3-4 win for one of the teams that has the map 2 pick, and then they of course get the map 4 hard point pick with that. So it could be a map 5er, or it could be a 2-3-4 winner, and I don't know which way I'm going, bro. I still don't know.
I know where I'm going with it. If you want me to kick it off,
with my gut. I'm going with my gut. I'm just good. I have to say it, otherwise I'm going to think back and forth in it all day long. I'm going New York Subliners 3-2.
Okay, I like it. I want to say 3-2 as well, but I'm gonna be honest. I think this is a really bad matchup for Boston. I think that New York's kind of been on the up and up, and all I've talked about recently, both these teams like remind me so much of each other. Like I feel like they both have kind of figured out Vanguard and have a solid system, and neither of these teams really drop like crazy individual statistics. And I think that this is going to be a scrappy battle, but I'm going New York as well. I think they take it 3-1. Honestly, I feel like, bro, at the Pro-Am, they looked incredible. They literally, like Kismet said, they went 18-3 map count. Then they played FaZe so competitively the other day, getting outslayed by 40 in the series, and potentially could have took that at map 5, and who knows what happened. So I'm confident in them. I'm on the New York train for right now, and I think Boston will fall to them. And yeah, I think NYSL handles business, baby.
Would this be, so we talked about LAG possibly being the biggest fall off in maybe COD history, having won an event and then not winning more than 4 maps in the last 7 matches that they've played. Would this also be the biggest season turnaround if Subliners were to put together a great stage 3 after doing nothing in the first 2 stages? You win an event and then you have Atlanta game 4, tight game 4, and you're instantly like in the top 4 of the power rankings.
I mean, yeah, I guess depending on how they do at Major 3, if they continue that consistency from the Pro-Am to a Major 3. I mean, bro, if you went on to go have a dominant performance at Major 3, let's just say they do something similar to what they did at the Pro-Am. They go win, I don't know, a 15-3 map count or something like that, or 18-3. They do that all again. I mean, that would be insane. I see someone in chat saying New York was 0-13 in hardpoint. Yeah, I mean, they literally couldn't win a hardpoint. I remember at a point.
That's a good point, EMT.
Krim was saying that. I remember he was like, I think he tweeted like, it doesn't matter what, or you guys can't do your homework against us. We don't have an auto veto on hardpoint because we can't win a single map.
You can't win any of them.
So like, I don't know. I definitely think it would be something to consider, because I remember at a point, I think someone on Breaking Point or Tech Rap, someone made the biggest flops in COD history, and they talked about this New York team at the beginning of the year with Krim and Clay.
Yeah.
And it was a big talking point. Like, a lot of people were very disappointed in this New York roster. It wasn't doing good. And realistically, I hate to say it, but since they've gotten rid of Neptune, this is the best the team has looked all year long. So it's impressive work.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we're talking organizationally, not roster turnarounds. Like, organizationally, one of the biggest turnarounds.
I'm completely
what is Soulside saying?
I don't know. I think it's bait, right?
Gotta be bait. There's no way Cap gets. No, get out of here. Get out of here.
It's bait. It's bait. It's bait.
Get out of here. You filthy animal.
Maps up for Seattle versus Paris
to someone. Gotcha.
is Bokage, Tuscan, Berlin, Tuscan, Berlin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know that. We talked about that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they were match 2, and I was like, wait, did we miss match 1 already? But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm going. I think so. We got the same across the board, right? You got Surge, we have Thieves, and New York.
Difference.
Yeah. I mean, this map, I would not be surprised if New York, Boston goes all the way to 5. I wouldn't be surprised if LA Thieves and Minnesota go all the way to 5. Either of these 4 teams could kind of take a few maps and make it very, very competitive and a fun watch, or someone can come out like yesterday and make it a nice little blowout. So
I think this series is either a 1-3-5 win for a team or a 2-3-4 win for a team. I think that's how this goes.
I like it. I mean, yeah, I'm not hot on Boston's control. Like, they haven't really looked good on it all year long. And then with the addition of Berlin, I don't know, have they played that map too much?
Just once.
Yeah, so they haven't played it too often. It'll definitely be, they're at what, 0-1. Then New York is, let me see.
They've been hard vetoing it. They haven't played it yet.
Have they? So that's plus for them, yeah. So they haven't played it. So you'll definitely probably see a Gav, or what do you call it, Tuscan?
I think we get Tuscan, yeah. I think New York takes out Gavudu from Thieves, and I think Thieves, LOL. I think Boston takes out Berlin, or vice versa. I think both teams want to play Tuscan in this one.
Yep, I am with you. It's gonna be a fun day of COD, baby. I'm excited.
Great day, dude. I'm pumped.
I think it has the potential to be like day 1, though, is what I'm scared about. If teams come out and handle business, if you see a Seattle Surge come out today angry and they just win 3-0, and then same thing, like you see Minnesota back how they were just the other day, and Thieves just come out and handle business, you could see back-to-back 3-0 or 3-1s easily. In my
I'm
opinion.
just gonna be pissed that I'm gonna miss that last series because I'll be casting Val probably right over the top of it.
Yeah, but you've seen it all over the timeline, refreshing Twitter.
Yeah, I get to sit and watch Cloud9 beat the brakes off of Evil Geniuses while this map goes 250 to 249, 6-5, 3-2, 250, 248, and then the 6-5 round 11 map 5.
1v1 for the win.
1v1 for the cheese.
That would be a grueler of a series. I don't know if you want to take a few little questions, though. I know we started a little late, so it's getting pretty close to time. But chat, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. We'll do a couple questions before we wrap up this show. We started a little bit later today, so we'll probably end it here pretty quickly. But yeah, man, if you guys, like I said, are watching with us live, we appreciate you. Always make sure to follow the channel. We will be live again next, what is it? Is it Friday the matches?
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. Then I actually am going to be out of town on Saturday, so I will have to talk to you about that because I will be out of town with the wife for a little vacation for my birthday. So gonna be gone for a little.
Your birthday's
my birthday's Friday.
Same birthday?
My birthday's May 20th.
Your birthday's Friday. Okay, my birthday's the 21st.
21st, and your birthday party was with Nikki D. That's what I remember. It classic. My duo.
Yeah, next weekend's gonna be interesting because I'm gonna be in Vegas. I don't know what because I'm doing a COD Mobile event next weekend in Vegas, so I don't know what our schedule looks like yet. But I should still be able to at least connect from the hotel or on a phone through the studio or something. We'll see.
No worries at all. If we can't make it work, it's no big deal.
Straight goats are born in May, dude. May is the goated month for birthdays. It's Hastro's birthday today.
Yep. Jeremy Studies is the 20th too. Me and Jay have the same birthday. My old owner Steve Maida from LG his birthday is on the 19th, I think. I see a lot of people asking questions about General and Pro Loot. I'm just gonna go ahead and give my opinion, and you guys can agree or disagree. I don't care. I don't know why people are even comparing like.
Facts.
I don't know why they're even comparing the rosters with these fill-ins or even talking about them. In my opinion, like it doesn't. I think the thing that what we spoke about earlier is the only thing that matters. The core 3 on Optic, they look great. They've been playing very well. They've been playing some of the best Call of Duty individually in the system. Got a shout out to the coaching staff. I don't care who they play with. They can play with Pro Loot. They can play with General. They can play with Yeez. They can play with Scrappy. It doesn't matter. They can play with Pentagram for all I care. It doesn't matter. They'll make it work with whoever they're playing with. And the Pro League are a top amateur, and I think that they would be just fine. I don't even know why this has become a big conversation standpoint. It's no roast to General. General has looked great. He played great. They played completely different roles. And Pro Loot doesn't play anywhere near the same as General, so it's just hard to compare them, in my opinion. I don't know what your take is on that, but that's how I feel about it.
It's the same. It's absolutely the same. It's not, I mean, and look, you Optic fans are crazy, dude. You guys are different breeds. I get it. You want to try to pick apart every little detail, but it's not serious. It's not that deep. Like, both players are very good. Yes, they both fulfill different roles, but the more important thing is the team itself is in the best position that we've seen Optic in a long time as a brand.
Yep.
So
that's what I feel like. If you're an Optic fan, that's all you should care about. You shouldn't care if they're winning with General or Pro Loot. They are winning with a fill-in, and they look damn good. Like, who cares who they're winning with? Like, you should be happy that, assuming you think Illy is better than both their fill-ins, then they are going to be a very dangerous team when he gets back into the mix, because he is the shot caller, the spokesperson for the team. He's the brain and everything like that. And you guys know how clutch he is in search. So I feel like if you're an Optic fan, you should just be very happy with the results that they are giving you. And you're probably more than likely they need to win one more series, and they start in a winner's bracket of Major 3 doing all of this with Pro Loot, who's been on 3 or 4 days of practice. So that's my take on it for sure.
I guess we'll find out. The next time they play is Sunday next week, and it's against the Atlanta FaZe.
Baby. I like it. I like
really close to the microphone for that one.
I see Moonslay's asking. We talked about this a little bit, Alan, but he says, will any teams make any more roster changes? If so, what teams? I think there's only a few that could potentially shake something up this late into the year. A lot of these teams are going to stay the same. I think Alan agrees with this for Major 3. We've spoke about it yesterday a little bit, but I think the only changes you potentially see is some of these organizations utilizing the substitute role, just because it makes so much sense. It's literally, they're already signed to a CDL contract. They don't have to do anything else. and they can kind of just come in and make it work. So if teams were to try something, you could maybe see Florida try something. Seattle, they have Nicky D. I don't think you entertain that, probably just because roles. I feel
Probably
like
not.
accuracy is the guy to get scapegoated if something happens, but I don't think that's even the right call at the moment. So he probably doesn't come in. Thieves have Pentagram. I don't think he'll come in. I think you maybe see Toronto make a change if they were to struggle, or maybe a Minnesota swap back in of Major, maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's just there's too many missed opportunities to make changes freely. I think everything now, the decision becomes very difficult, especially for those teams that are fighting for a top 8 spot, which there's a lot of them. Like we said yesterday, like between 6th and 11th, any one of those teams can finish top 6, let alone top 8. So we'll see.
I'm with you. Do you think teams take next year the substitute position a little more serious? I feel like teams have started to do that a lot more, in my opinion.
Too.
I think, and that's a big reason why.
Long, but...
Yeah. I just think that's why you also don't see, like, I think some of these organizations do it, right? Where they don't sign a sub right away. They kind of put that coach in that role, and that's how they pay him. But then they have the capability to pick up any player who is doing. In my opinion, if I was an owner or a GM of a team, I would sign 4 players. I would not sign a substitute right away. I would watch challengers, have someone actively be watching it, see who's playing well, performing well. And then when push comes to shove and our team's not performing, then you can just pick up whatever top challenger right away. That's kind of the way I see it. I feel like that's the best way to get the best talent out there.
The whole thing for me is like the scouting series that was ran in the Cold War year was not beneficial. The idea was good, but I think the execution was really not beneficial to anybody. What would be beneficial is you have the pro downs back at the beginning of the year. You've got all 12 CDL teams with whatever their intended rosters are, and the next best 4 challengers teams. And by next best, it means that those challengers teams play through like a little bit of an open, or they use the opening cups as a way to qualify whoever the top 4 best challengers teams are, and then they make up a 16-team bracket, kind of like we did back during BO4 in World War II. Because then you've got the ability for the teams to get good rehearsal and practice in a tournament environment, which all the teams are dying for at the beginning of the year. And at the same rate, you're also getting a real look at all of these challengers players. Like, think about the teams that we've had in the last, we'll say 3 years, that at the beginning of a season in challengers, they've dominated. You had Wester back in the day during Modern Warfare. You had NYSL Academy shortly after that. You had BBG. Like, all these teams that are now fielding some of those players into the CDL have all been on dominating teams at the beginning of a season. And it would be nice to see that kind of, and maybe Texas Nation would be kind of the idea here as well. Triumph Gaming, good shout out from Filthy Melky. Like all of these teams that have CDL caliber players that dominate challenges at the beginning of the year, and then it's not till halfway through the season that people start considering adding people to their rosters. So I would love to see an AM event with pros, kind of like the Pro Down or Pro Am from this last month at the beginning of the year. Because the scouting series is just, it's the challengers players don't take it seriously. It's just pick up 8s. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think too, another thing is like, I prefer teams to like wait in a way and actually scout and do their homework, just because then you see a similar situation where like teams pick up the wrong player for a substitute, the player who like has personal issues or whatever it may be doesn't fit the right role, then it doesn't make sense. Then like now we have a situation where General's already the sub, but he's not playing just because the player that they need is a flex, and it's like doesn't make sense role wise. So now he kind of gets screwed because he can't play in that role. So just, I don't know. That's the way I see it. I feel like just wait, pick up teams or pick up players as the year goes on and kind of when you need them. It makes more sense in my opinion.
I agree.
Do you think if Boston loses today versus NYSL, they would be out of the top 4 conversation?
Probably.
I think so, yeah. I mean, this is like a good team to kind of take their spot, in my opinion, depending upon how LA Thieves continue to do and New York. And I spoke on this yesterday. As time goes on in the league, teams go up and down, up and down, up and down, and then some teams kind of just stay right there. But and then some of the teams get worse from unfortunate circumstances that they're given. But I think definitely this would be a definitely kind of make or break, even though it's just one match for Boston, to see if they're kind of in that top 4 conversation or not.
I think your top 4 in the power rankings is Optic Atlanta top 2, and then if LA Thieves beat Minnesota, they're 3. And then the winner of New York Subliners and Boston's 4. That's probably how I would react to it after the first week of qualifying here in Stage 3, personally.
I see people asking a lot, or Moonslays asked this several times. If we expand next year, what teams would you like to see come back? I don't really have
Like
any like. Yeah, I
organizations?
think he's asking like organizationally.
Hmm.
And
Heretics.
Heretics would be
Madrid
cool.
team.
I like that. Maybe E United. Get like some of the old COD names in. I would like to see some bigger organizations come in.
United's not exactly being held in the highest regard right now,
Oh,
but
are they? From what?
have you not seen all the drama about how they treated the CS:GO and Spartan right now for Halo?
No, honestly, I have not.
Oh,
Is it a
I'll link you
mess?
some stuff.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
never mind. All right,
yeah,
no
I'll
EU
link to
United.
it.
Let's get Rise Nation back in the day. Get my glue
Hell
back in
yeah.
there. I think it'd be cool. Get like a C9. Some of these big organizations too to get back in COD. I think it's very good for it. Maybe a G. What was G2 in earlier? They cut Spartan's salary from 5,300 to 300 a month. Oh,
Yeah.
all
It was
right.
like, yeah, there's a lot of he said she said going on right now, but there have been other people that had played for the United CS:GO team that have also spoken out about organizational things. And then Clerky, who is the director at Maryville, who used to be like a director of operations at United, kind of revealed some of the reasons why he left. Yeah,
Interesting. I know it's always been
it's
a
the whole thing.
yeah. I
It's the
feel
whole
like
thing.
that goes up back to IW. I can remember things where there was a similar incident with Gilness and some other players, but we don't got to get into all that drama.
Nah.
Got to
Yeah, I would
source
like to
this.
see Rise back. Heretics Rise. Cloud9 would be nice to see involved in some regard.
Complexity is another good one. TSM. TSM would be cool. TSM hasn't been around since freaking Black Ops 3. I remember when we
Yeah.
qualified in the event, like TSM was coming in Cloud9. We already signed under Rise, but they were trying to buy us out for like quadruple our salary. And we're like, what? We were mind blown at the time. I think everyone was making like $500 or $750 a month in Black Ops 3. And these guys wanted to pay us like $4,000. And we're like, what in the world? Are you serious?
Yeah.
So I think it would be cool to definitely have some bigger organizations into the scene and kind of help grow big personalities and brands.
Or just investment groups, right? Like, Boston getting involved this last year, right?
Yep.
No real organizational support there outside of, the Boston brand that's a part of the Overwatch League. So that's also an option outside of just esports orgs, just good investors.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of these, I just want to see organizations come in and like care and actually want to be big and grow their brand and put out content and like, I don't know, help grow Call of Duty. No offense to Paris Legion, but they're a prime example of an organization that has not really cared over the last few years and kind of just lets it be whatever it is. And it just sucks to see. I don't want to see players play for something like that and not having content and social posts. Oh, the list goes on. It sucks to see that.
Yeah, it's facts. Yeah, I'd like to see Rise get back involved. I can't really think of any other organizations that are actively still supporting the FPS scene that would also be interested in getting involved with COD. Like, I don't know, would Team Liquid maybe get involved?
Oh, good question.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I see people saying TK. Yeah, bring back Team Caliber. I don't think they would.
What are they even doing these days?
I have no idea.
I don't even know what esports they support anymore.
Some of them like went off to do some weird ones kind of in a way. They just do like Rocket League and I don't know, different games, I guess. But
they've got, well, interesting. The teamcaliber.com website has 2 departments on their esports scene: Fortnite and Call of Duty.
Huh. Intel.
No players to view on either of these. This is the most, I don't even know if are they even still an organization?
I have no idea. Who was the owner of that again? What was his name?
I have no clue.
Ozdorf, was that his name? I don't know. I don't remember.
CosDFF?
Yeah, maybe.
He's a director.
Yeah, Kozdorf. Yeah, it was. That used to be the owner.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that impen. We'll let that be. Jesus. All right. I'm going to wrap things up, though. I think that's enough for the day, unless you got anything else specifically. We got an exciting day of matches underway. I hope you guys all enjoyed the podcast today. I appreciate everyone tuning back in and kind of get back into the swing of things. We had a long break off from Call of Duty, and this was the first weekend back of matches. So appreciate all the live viewers, everyone hanging out with us on Twitch. Again, make sure to follow the channel if you guys haven't already. We're live all the time, streaming, playing Call of Duty, playing something of some sort, and doing this podcast with my good friend Alan. And if you guys are over on YouTube, make sure to please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, and any other things you guys want to see. Again, put them in the comments. We appreciate you guys. So do me a favor, go follow Alan. Yep, and go watch what is that on and what day? Tell 'em.
Twitch.tv, college/college COD tonight after the CDL. 2 more spots to qualify. We had players like Silly, Phantoms, Rex all get qualified yesterday. Fame, Chris Radial, Bink, and Infinite, they all got qualified yesterday. We've got Arizona State. That's next weekend. I'm stupid. You've got Concord, which has like Crooked and Trauma. Penn State, Davenport's good. St. Clair, team out of Canada. Georgia Southern have some good players. We have to qualify 2 more teams tonight. It's immediately after the CDL. And all of you guys that are watching this show obviously like COD. So when you're done watching the CDL, go watch the College COD League.
Yes, sir.
Bang.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you guys again. Thank you guys. Love you guys. And we will catch you guys in the next episode of First of Blood. Have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy the games. I'll be live for a little bit, then we're going to hang out of here. Have a great day, guys. Peace.